Hey everyone, RePHIL as 4 here. Welcome back to another episode of the RePHIL Studio. Get your cans ready. We'll be refilling to 99 as we always do. We're ready for the next set. Of course, before we welcome our lovely special guests who are waiting on the other side of the studio, we'll talk a bit about some updates with regards to the franchise and some other quick news before we get started. So let's jump actually right into the studio question right off the bat. The reason why I'm going to go to the studio question today is because, of course, in ENdori, we finally got the addition of 2 more Kirameki Festival cards, one for Pario and one for Kanan. These, I believe, are either the 3rd or 4th or the 5th or 6th of those cards. I don't quite remember now, but either way, it just got recently added to ENdori. So I asked this studio question on the in my Discord server on what would be your dream Kirameki Festival card, and we got some really interesting answers. I was actually thinking that maybe people want to have some add some more details about like the scenarios and such, but we got a lot of different unique character combinations. You'll see them on the screen right now. Of course, if you're listening to this on YouTube or maybe on your favorite podcast platform, feel free to comment below what might be your dream Kirameki Festival card combination. If I were to answer this myself, I'd probably, funny enough, Sayo doesn't have a Kirameki card yet for some reason, although she's been in a cameo for 2 of them, I believe for Hina and Tsugu. So if she got a Kirameki card herself, I'm kind of biased towards the fact that she'd be, let's say, in Lisa's house and they'd be baking cookies, and Lisa would be the cameo character, and maybe the cookies will come out like amazing, and she's eating because Saya always eats in her cards. So that's would be my dream, super specific scenario of my Kirameki Festival card. Aya already has one, and I guess Himari doesn't have one either, but it's hard to think to have Himari's Kirameki card without Tomoe, but Tomoe already has Himari as the cameo, so I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. So either way, again, let me know what you guys think. And also in general, like if you've gotten your Kirameki cards before in your account, maybe you gadget for it. If you got it, congrats to you on that. So just, I guess keep that in mind and let me know. Yeah, Himari with Haru probably. That makes a lot of sense. Or could be with like Lisa as well. Just like social media gals or Toko, right? So that would be really interesting too. That would actually be quite interesting if Himari had one with Toko. Actually, that would be not a bad idea. But either way, let me know again if you have any answers to your question. So look forward to that. So today, usually I go into like updates about the Japanese server and what's going to be happening. Now, relatively recently, there was actually a live stream that happened, which is not necessarily a Garpa live stream, like a Garpa station live stream. So I'm not going to really do a summary video, like a separate summary video for that. Instead, I'm just going to do it right in this episode today. So we'll be talking about some of the really cool updates that will be happening in the franchise specifically that are coming up. So I'm going to first start off with this graphic here. The graphic shows that we're going to have the Bang Dream 11th live happening in February. On February 2nd, we have, or sorry, not 2nd, 4th, February 4th, we have Galaxy to Galaxy. This is going to be day 1 featuring Poppin' Party and Reza Swilin as a joint concert. Then on February 5th, we have day 2, which is going to be Morphonica and Roselia, called Serenade Nocturne. So it's they obviously these 4 bands have performed, right? There are key performers when it comes to lives, but this is the first time that they've been coupled in this way. Popipa and Ras in one concert and Roselia and Morphonica on another. So this is going to be the first time. It's going to be really interesting how it goes. Like, maybe prior to this concert, there's going to be some new songs that maybe Popipa and Ras will sing together, and Roselia and Morphonica will sing together. So that'd be pretty interesting. Like, for instance, like I honestly wouldn't mind, like, I don't know, Yukina singing Flame of Hope. Like, that sounds like a pretty like poggers idea. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, there's going to be an 11th live. I'm looking forward to that for sure. That's going to be a lot of fun for sure. There's also a few other small concerts here and there, like for instance, the Bushi Road Rock Festival 2023. That's going to be happening in May. Razor Suilin, Morphonica, with a bunch of other artists that are to come. They will be performing in these sort of rock festivals. So again, probably more information as it comes later in 2023. In addition, and I think the one thing I want to talk about next is the albums. So Morphonica is finally going to get an album in terms of like what this is their very first album, and it's going to be happening on March 15th of 2023. It's going to be released then. So this is going to be really exciting. Congratulations to Morphonica in advance for having an album for the first time. It's going to be happening in March, so I'm definitely looking forward to that and see what kind of songs are going to be added there. In addition, Rosalia, Poppin' Party, and Razor Suilin are also going to have singles and even a mini album released between April and June of 2023. Rosalia is going to be a single. Poppin' Party is actually going to be a mini album. And then a Razor Suilin is going to be a single. So again, that you could also kind of make some judgments on, okay, well, if there's going to be some new songs, right? Like a new sort of Razor Suilin event or a new Rosalia event, right? Probably that new event song is going to be inside the singles or mini albums. So definitely be on the lookout for that, especially if you're eyeing on some new events that are happening for full bands. In addition, Afterglow, Past the Palettes, and Hella Happy World are going to have their second albums ever. So we've already had the first album, I think about 2 years ago. So it's a little bit overdue, but we're going to have their albums, their second albums in April, May, and June. Most likely Afterglow in April, Past the Palettes in May, and Hell Happy World in June. The fact that, again, I'm also pretty optimistic that the fact that we have Past the Palettes album in May means that hopefully we'll have some new songs in there once Amita returns from her hiatus. So I'm fingers crossed on that for sure. So that's going to be their albums there. Now, the most exciting part about this stream, in my opinion, was the fact that they gave more information about the Bang Dream AI singing synthesizer. So for those who don't know, there was a teaser about how Kasumi and Yukina are now going to be Vocaloids, basically. So that is going to be a real thing, and they are adding more information about that. So I believe there's a bit more information about when it's going to be released. I believe the download version is going to be in December of 21st of this year. And the sort of package version is going to be released in late February. So there's already some samples in this stream on how the Vocaloids sound. And honestly, they sound really good. They almost sound like the real human, which is pretty shocking. Like they sound like IRL, I mean, and I and Ibaina, and just it's really like I can't really describe it. You have to listen to yourself. I can't show it in this stream because I'll get copyrighted. So, but take a look and have a listen. It's honestly really neat. I believe they also put some prices on there as well. It's a little pricey. I think they put some prices as well, but I think it's a little pricey. If I have the prices, I'll put them up there. Yeah, and in terms of the covers, there's actually going to be some covers that will be some actual real covers from these Vocaloids. So the Kasumi one is going to be called Poppy, and the covers that are already sort of, I guess, revealed to be official ones are going to be Starbeat, Easy Come Easy Go, Dream Gradation, Firebird, Orchestra of Smiles, and Flame of Hope. So honestly, just looking at this list, seeing Kasumi sing Flame of Hope and Firebird, that's like super, super hype. And then we have Rose, which of course is Yukina. She's going to cover Kizuna Music, Heyday Capriccio, Once More Luminous, Louder, Riot, and Daylight. So I think out of all those lists, I think Kizuna Music and Luminous Once More is the ones that I'm most excited for. It's just, again, very different from what they normally do. So I'm looking forward to seeing how those sound like. So again, these are going to be like official covers that are going to be released. There's a contest as well, but I'm not going to go into too much detail there about that. If you want to learn more details about the contest, I'm sure you could find more information in the stream. They've also revealed a couple of new songs. First of all, Hello Happy World is going to be covering a new song. It's Mixed Nuts from Spy Family, everyone's favorite anime. So it's really cool to see that a recent anime is going to have a cover like in the game so quickly. So Hello Happy World is going to be covering Mixed Nuts. Of course, the original artist is Official Higedandism. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to hearing how this cover goes. And it's also a little bit of a teaser of what event is to come. So let's be on the lookout for that, which we'll talk about very shortly. In addition, Reza Swelen is going to be doing their extra song with Myth and Royd. We already know that they were going to do that in the previous Garpa Station live stream, but the song is now confirmed to be Veracity. Veracity is the third opening to Overlord, and this is like honestly my favorite out of the Overlord songs, so I'm really hyped about this. They also showed a bit of a teaser of what it sounds like. It sounds great. It's going to be released in the game on November 30th, so I think this is a song that this may end up being my favorite extra song, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Veracity is definitely a banger. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that. And the fact that Myth and Royd is doing extra songs is great. So basically, this is all 7 extra songs that are already revealed. Everything is good to go. All 7 songs are now in the game or will be in the game. But maybe by the time you're listening to this, it's probably going to be in the game. But as sort of predicted in my Garpa live station streams, so I've also kind of predicted that they'll be adding some more extra songs. So indeed, there's going to be some more extra songs that'll be added in conjunction, and it's going to be some more news about it's going to happen in December. So we have Pimaru-sama, Kuroneko, and Alpha-kun having extra songs coming in. So some of you may be familiar with some of these artists, not so much. All 3 of them are well known for actually being cover artists, but now they do have their own original songs. I'm personally quite familiar with Kuroneko and Alpha-kun myself, so I'm really excited the fact that they're going to sing together with some of our Bandori bands. Again, we don't know exactly who, but this is just really exciting news. I wouldn't be surprised if like for Kuroneko, for example, she might sing like the opening of Scum's Wish. That would be really hype. That would be really cool. But again, if you guys know or are hyped about any of these extra artists, let me know in the comments below what you might expect in terms of what songs to look forward to. The last thing I really want to cover in this case, again, there's going to be some small miscellaneous things, but I think the main thing I want to cover is the event. They've already also teased on what the upcoming event is. Now, by the time you're listening to this podcast, maybe this event is already happening, so there's not really much of a surprise. But we have the event, and we also have the gacha, and it is a Christmas theme, which is really, really exciting. They've also teased on who will be featured in the cards here. Now, a lot of people have already been speculating that it is going to be Chisato and Kaoru. And just by looking at the bottom 2 cards there, it's Chisato and Kaoru. So it's very likely going to be those 2 again, making a comeback, sharing the banner once more, and this time for a Christmas celebration. There's also going to be I don't remember if it was Dreamfest or Kirameki Fest for the top 2. Obviously, one is Michelle. That's very obvious, but they're also going to be attached to this banner as well. Let me know. It's one of the 2. I don't actually quite remember which one, but yeah, it's going to be either a Kirameki or a Dreamfest. So definitely look out for that. Again, if you're listening to this podcast later in the future, you probably already know who the characters are, but if not, then just let me know, make some guesses on who do you think it might be. All right, so that's basically all the main news I want to talk about. So, pretty exciting news overall of what's going to happen. And let me know what you guys think on what is the thing that you're most excited and looking forward to the most. Again, I think that the potential of the Vocaloid Kasumi and the Vocaloid Yukina is just very exciting. So I'm really looking forward to seeing once it gets released and people actually wail to buy. I think it was like 20,000 yen or something, like something crazy like that. But I'm really looking forward to seeing the potential of what people could bring out in those Vocaloids versions. So let's see what you guys think. And of course, let me know in the comments below what are you most looking forward to based on these updates. It could be the cover song, who knows? Or the event. So Just before we move on to the other side of the studio, I just want to give a few shout outs to some individuals who have gotten really nice titles in the recent events in ENdori. Since the last episode, we've had 3 events. The first event was the Happy New Year event, the singing contest featuring Chisato and Himari as the main 4 stars, with, of course, Mashiro as the banner. Congratulations to Mocha Bread on Twitter in first place on the event. This was a medley live, so for some people, like usually medley lives, little less familiar faces on my side, but regardless, I want to give my shout outs. T2 goes to Yuineko, and T3 went to Tsumugi, who is, I think, a part of the Philippines Bang Dream kind of clan that they have over there. So, a lot of new faces getting that podium title. So big props to all of them for getting their top 3 titles in this event. In terms of the next event, the Teach Me Hina-chan Sensei, congratulations to very familiar faces. Sinna for getting first place, Pasta taking second place, and Dandy taking third place. So all 3 of them have been RePHIL Studio podcast guests in the past. Sinna and Pasta in particular have met with myself in person before, so that's pretty exciting to see that after meeting them, that they were able to get their goal of a T3 and above in the event. So big congratulations to you 3 on your achievements. Lastly, there's the Happy Phantom Thief and the Other Thief. This is the Hello Happy World event. Congratulations to Kay, who got first place in the event, Snips for second place, and as well as Ziyumoke for third place. So Snips, again, a guest of this podcast before, and I believe Snips mentioned that Kay was a very, very old veteran of the gameplay, when the game first came out, and Kay has officially retired from the game after this event. So enjoy retirement, and congratulations on your first place, and of course congratulations to everyone who've tiered those 3 events. In the next episode, I'll probably wrap up by talking about the last few events of ENdori before the new year. So some final shout outs, I guess, for anyone who wants to hopefully snag a podium title before the year ends. So we'll see if any of you are able to do that. But yeah, that is it for this side of the studio podcast, the RePHIL Studio podcast. So let's hop on over to the other side and let's speak with our special guests. Hey everyone. It's Phil here. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. As a reminder, the RePHIL Studio podcast is available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. So check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And when you're there, feel free to give comments, leave a high rating. All that support is greatly appreciated. Now that the RePHIL Studio podcast is having a less frequent upload schedule, this will encourage you to hopefully join the Anga Academy Discord server. Links in the description below, so you're up to date on when the live recordings on the podcast are happening and when the next episode will be. Of course, in the live recordings, you can contribute to the discussion, including to the studio question, and of course, interact with special guests featured on this podcast. So hope to see you there. Now, big shout outs to our Filler Nation members. So you guys always get shout outs there. They've been constantly supporting me on my content. So greatly appreciate you guys. And if you want a chance to join the Filler Nation as well, feel free to either subscribe to my Twitch channel where I stream quite often. I also have a Patreon, links in the description below. And of course, if you're on YouTube, you can just give a quick super thanks. All that support, of course, is greatly appreciated and it means a lot to me. So thank you all so much for listening to RePHIL Studio. The episode will resume shortly. Welcome back to the RePHIL Studio. We will get our special guests ready for this set. And for this episode, I have the honor and pleasure to welcome Ruby and Leo to the RePHIL Studio today. So as a brief introduction for both of them, Ruby has gotten some very notable titles, including third place in the Sunset Bandwagon event. And Leo got a T4 in the Curtain Rises on Shining Espoir event. So, both of you, thank you for taking the time to join the studio today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, really.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Anything else you would like to add to the intro that I haven't mentioned that you'd like to add?
I don't believe so for me.
No, it's fine.
All right. So as you see, we have a lot of live audience members, and their chat is also, you could see it on the podcast episode as well. So chat, of course, behave as you always do. But we'll get started with this episode. And obviously, when we have our special guest join in, I always like to ask this question because it's always a really fun question to learn more about the origin stories of our guests. And I'll start with you, Leo. Why don't we start with you in terms of how did you first, get into Bang Dream? Kind of heard about the series, and what made you decide that you wanted to continue, I guess, playing the game?
Well, really, there was an era on TikTok where Bandori was just everywhere on my For You page. Like, I physically couldn't get it off. I didn't understand what anything was, but I eventually just decided to get into it after a while, and I don't regret it.
So what about the TikToks that made you decide that, like, that you kind of, were you just tired of it? You're like, I'll check it out. Or was there anything about the TikToks or anything about the franchise that kind of stood out that you're like, oh, like maybe I should try it out?
Well, one thing, misconception on my part. I saw a TikTok that was like something about Choo Choo, and I thought, no human person has a 2 in their name. That has to be a robot. And I also thought like Chizuto.
Wow.
And so I was interested in that character, and then I realized it didn't exist. But I eventually got into it, and I just really loved all the characters in specific.
It's kind of like me as well. When for a lot of people, when they first get into the franchise, they see someone like Michelle the bear, and you're like, is it really an actual bear? And you look into it and you're like, oh, it isn't. But at that point, you're already kind of sucked into the franchise, and you're already learning about the characters and learning about,
I was also a bit confused about Michelle as well at first. But I eventually realized that Misaki actually had plot relevance, and I started to really like her a lot.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. Now, Leo, when it comes to your characters, you mentioned that you enjoy a lot of characters. Is there any particular character you enjoy the most, or any particular band that you enjoy the most?
I don't think a specific band, but I think my favorites would be like a tie between Misaki, Maya, and Choo Choo.
All right, so the ones that kind of gave you the very big first impression ended up being the ones that you enjoy the most.
Yeah, they really just the idea of them just stuck with me, and I made me drawn to them more.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. Well, thank you for that lovely origin story. I guess shout outs to TikTok for, their promotion of Bang Dream Girls Band Party, I suppose. Well, Ruby, what about you? Was it a similar origin story? How did you get into Bang Dream Girls Band Party?
Well, it was actually a lot different than Leo's. So basically in 2019, my friends were really into it, and my friend wanted Eve's beach card really, really badly, and they were re-rolling for her a whole bunch, and they asked me to help, and basically that's how I got it, and I've played it pretty regularly since then.
Okay, so it was initially a favor for a friend, and then you just started playing more and more more consistently, I suppose. Okay. Well, again, is there anything in particular about the franchise that sucked you in? Of course, being able to help a friend is obviously really nice, but was there anything in particular about the franchise or the game that really kind of drawed you to continue playing?
Well, I also started watching the anime at a similar time, and from the first time I heard her speak, I just adored Rimi so much. I loved her so much from the start, and I still love her a lot. She's still one of my favorites, but I just have learned more about other characters, so I like others more. But I still love Rimi so much.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely in the same boat where there's a lot of characters I kind of gave the first initial impression. I still like them to this day, but once you really learn a lot of characters, because there's 35 of them in total, at least in terms of the main characters, there's bound to be one that you really sort of gravitate towards, and wow, this is a very well written character and someone you really enjoy and really relate to. Ruby, is there anyone in particular that you also enjoy, your own favorite characters, favorite band and such in the franchise?
Well, my favorite band is by far Afterglow. I love Afterglow so much. And my favorite character is Himari from Afterglow.
And I am very happy to say that I think you're probably one of the first guests where I could like say, yes, finally, a fellow Himari fan.
I love Himari so much.
Oh man, I just love how like, you know, she gets teased a lot, but she really tries her best, and she really does have that leader vibe despite, you know, her shortcomings in some parts, but you know, again, she works very hard, and she's just so lovable, and it's like
she's so amazing.
I really can't like imagine, like, again, like in most of my guests in my podcast so far, I've talked a lot about my, like, you know, my favoritism for Aya and Sayo, because a lot of guests also have those same character likes, but Himari not so much. So
I love everything about Himari. She's so amazing.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. And of course, that will lead to the fact that you did tier for her eventually, which we'll certainly talk about very shortly.
Multiple times. I've tiered for her so much.
Well, one in particular, definitely, where you got a very, very notable achievement. So well, I do look forward to talking about that very soon. Before we do so, I want to get into the chance of learning more about both of you and your tiering journeys, because, you know, playing the game just casually by yourself is, you know, it's kind of whatever, right? Nothing too crazy happens. You can just play casually and enjoy the music, enjoy the characters. But tiering is a whole different beast and its own. So we'll go back to Leo and start with you, Leo. So how did you first hear about tiering, and what gave you, I guess, the impression that this was something that you wanted to try, you know, tiering in the game?
So basically, it was TikTok again, the second time. So whenever I really got into Bandori, I think it was April 2021, there was like a big like craze of like tiering on TikTok. Not really like serious tiering, essentially, but like just tiering in general. And it made me like want to learn more about it, because like at the time when I was into it, it was like I wanted to learn more about it and like get into more like things with the game, along with just like casually playing the game. And eventually I went around like a few like other tiering communities, and actually that's where I met Ruby, and that's just where it started.
So Ruby, were you the influence for Leo to tier?
I don't know for sure, but we did learn about tiering like together, so it was really fun.
Which is pretty interesting, because you got into the game much earlier than Leo. So I guess you were playing a lot more casually for a longer period of time, and you know, it was only around like sometime last year that you kind of got into tiering, and the both of you kind of met each other and learned about tiering and such.
Yeah, I mean, I would tier sometimes like casually, some random events here and there, but like I was pretty young when I started, so I didn't really understand how to tier that well.
Yeah. So, you know, and again, was there any specific motivations that kind of, like, from either of you, that when you saw like, oh, this, like, perhaps I could try doing tiering on a more serious basis? Like, was there anything that sort of flipped that, I guess, that switch, or just triggered that, you know, that you wanted to maybe try for a more serious tiering achievement?
Ruby, do you want to go first?
Oh, sure. So when I joined the server Leo mentioned, I really enjoyed talking with people there, but I still was like not really super good at tiering. But then like Leo and stuff, everyone would tier events, and I was like, oh my god, I want to tier with you guys too. So I was learning about how to do it, and then eventually I just kept wanting to go for more. Does that make sense?
Okay, so it definitely feels like a little bit of back and forth kind of pull and tug situation, where, like, you know, individually by yourselves, you're like, you know, tiering is whatever. It'd be nice to do it in a casual, but then when you kind of have like the group hive mind, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe we should all try tiering and see how it goes. That's what I kind of feel like that happened. All right, good. Leo, do you want to add in terms of your own motivations and you know, how did you got into tiering and such?
For getting into more like serious tiering, like for example my top 10 in Espoir, I like found like tiering like servers that people used a lot to get high ranks, and I'm like, oh wait, this is actually possible, I want to do it.
Okay. So when and again for both of you, because although like they have relatively different backgrounds, but got into tiering at roughly the same time, and I would say that it has been some time, but relatively recently compared to some other tierers out there. What was your first impression when it came to things like tiering servers? And Leo, we could ask you first. What was the first impression on tiering servers? What were they like? And was there anything that like stood out for you in terms of either like a good thing or like maybe a more intimidating thing about them?
Things that really stood out. I really thought like they were going to be like professional. You have to get like 60 games in an hour. You have to get the max EP. You have to be like killed for your rank. And I got there and people were just like spamming emotes and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, this is actually much better.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely one of the main things with tiering communities, that like ultimately it is a server. It's like a community environment where you're just trying to bond and get along with people who all have very similar goals. Obviously, the more intense titles, you might have to do a little bit more rigorous training and a little bit more attention to detail when it comes to efficiency. But if you're definitely trying to go for like a somewhat lower ranking, then it's a lot more chill, for sure. Ruby, what do you have like any other ideas? Like, when you first got into a tiering server, do you remember like how that experience was like?
Yeah, so my first time in a tiering server, it was actually during my first T100 that I attempted. And I am not very good with social situations, so naturally I was incredibly anxious about messing things up. And I was playing in the server, and I was like DMing Leo, like, oh my god, this is so scary. And I didn't know what to do. But then like because of my experience from the Buddy Buddy event, I was able to get to be more comfortable in servers and like have people know more of who I am, I guess.
Well, that's great. That's great. And again, with tiering servers and the community, a lot of it does also boil down to networking as well, right? Being able to build a nice set of connections that that you'll likely see them again. If like, let's say, as an example, if you're like someone who tiers all the Himari events, there's probably going to be that one person also tiers Himari events, and you'll probably see them more often than not. So it's pretty fun to see where tiering servers come in and really help in building a connection, a community to all go for the same goal. So yeah, that's very, very neat. In terms of like meeting each other, right? Do you two remember like the first time you met each other and like first impressions there?
Yeah, I do.
I think I do.
All right. Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
So I remember when I first met Leo, Leo was in chat flexing because Leo had every single Toko card on EN. So Leo was flexing that, and I was like, oh my god, this person is so cool. I want to be this. I really wanted to be Leo's friend because Leo was so cool.
So just because like Leo is able to show the flex of all these cards, be like all this like nice whale cards. It's like, oh, so I guess that's the key, right? If you have more whale cards, you could build more friends, right?
Exactly. That's the way you build good friendships.
Flex on your high status in Bandori. But on a more serious note, Leo, what about you? Like when you meeting Ruby, and first impressions on meeting them.
Meeting Ruby, I like whenever I first met Ruby, I don't really have like a necessary memory of that, but I just remember Ruby was like nice, but like sickeningly nice, like to the point where I wanted, like needed to be her friend, but also it was just like,
understandable, right? It's just like, yeah, there's like definitely understandable. A lot of one thing about the community is that because although it's a pretty like generally Bandori tiers, it's not a very big community, not the biggest community out there, but you're always going to meet some very great people. They all have very common goals, and of course the common interest is that we love Bandori. But you're bound to meet someone who's like very, very nice, very friendly, and you'll definitely find a friend that you really enjoy hanging out with. And I'm sure that for both of you that maybe the community didn't start, you weren't sure how the community would react, or possibly kind of what would the community be like. But I imagine that your impressions of the community were relatively positive once you first joined.
Yeah, they were pretty good, at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure the community had a very amazing opinion of me.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Little story time.
Uh-oh.
During my very first actual time using a tiering server, which was Live Beyond,
mm-hmm.
I was not good at it. I was not good. I think I was in T10 for a decent amount, because I wasn't going for T10, and then I went into G1, accidentally griefed G1, told them I wasn't a filler, and so they really thought I was sniping, had to DM me to ask if I was sniping.
I remember that.
Uh-oh.
It ended fine, though. I was not sniping, so...
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're open and communicative, right? I think that's the one thing about tiering servers that can be a little bit of maybe a difficult idea to grasp, where there is some sort of level of communication that's required, and a sense of trust and honesty, right? So because again, ultimately we all want to get our goals and hopefully do it in the most cost efficient method possible. So I imagine, Leo, you may have gave some of the runners in that server a little bit of a heart attack.
Unfortunately so.
But I'm sure that you were able to clear that up, and the event also kind of just went smoothly from there. I hope.
It did.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Ruby, is there anything else you want to add in terms of your opinions about the community and just your overall thoughts when you first joined and how you feel now?
When I first joined, the community was actually really, really nice to me, because my first main experience happened during the Buddy Buddy event, and you were in the server, so you may remember, but I got voted, and then they invited me in the server to help me get back into T10.
Yeah, I remember that now. Wait, that's been so long. I just totally realized, yeah, that was you.
Yeah, and I actually had no stars, so I had a farm a set, but I was everyone was being so nice to me. I was literally crying so hard, and so my eyes, my vision was all blurry, and I could barely full combo songs because I was crying so much.
Wow, that's now I remember. That was a pretty interesting story, because again, I think that's one of the really cool parts about tiering servers as well. For instance, some tiering servers, depending on what band you're going for, a big example is Roselia or Pastel Palettes, I think, as well. They're generally a little bit more conservative, a little bit more competitive, and sometimes emotions can run a little bit rampant when everyone is so passionate to get their goals. But Afterglow, especially that it's a mixed event, and it was run by some Afterglow enthusiasts. They're really chill, right? They see that everyone's really got their goals, and they see you. They're you're getting voted, and you're kind of flirting with possibly losing a T10. And then we're just all right, we're going to come in and help. So
I'm so happy to help, because I was so devastated I was voted. And there was nothing I could do to get back, because both T10 and T9 were in servers, and everyone was able to move much faster than I could.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was super happy because I was able to achieve it.
DMing me about that, because whenever they invited you into the server, I was very glad, because I remember you telling me you played Romeo more than Meta.
Oh my God.
And I'll never forget that. I feel so bad for you.
Yeah, that was a really... My different T10s were definitely totally different experiences in multiple ways.
That's I don't know, maybe we should go right into asking that, because why were you playing Romeo instead of meta songs? Because Romeo has that 15-second beginning where you do nothing, and it's just
I I kept falling asleep during that part because I was so tired. And there was nothing there, so I would fall asleep.
Oh no! Oh no! Well, why don't we go right into like talking a little bit more about a little bit more about your bigger achievements. Obviously, we'll save the T3 and the T4 for last. But Ruby, you already mentioned a couple of your T10s. Or you mentioned some slightly different, experiences there. Can maybe elaborate or share what kind of happened? That what was the main differences between the two, and overall your thoughts of those two events?
Yeah. So a funny thing is, like, before Buddy Buddy started, I was actually on the verge of quitting Bandori because I was like having burnout, and I love the Buddy Buddy event so much that I was thinking, like, if I couldn't tier it, then I didn't want to play the game anymore. But then, like, Leo, like, DM 10 minutes into the event was like, oh my god, it's starting soon. and then I was like, oh my god, I have to tier this. So originally, I wasn't sure. I wanted T10 because I love the event, as I mentioned, but I wasn't sure if I would be able to do that because I hadn't done anything like that before, and my band was like only 1 out of 5, I think. And I remember I would search the event in PubCord and see people with like 5 out of 5 bands, and it scared me. I should not have done that. But the main difference between the two is, like, for Bandwagon, I had a server and I was on a roster, but for Buddy Buddy, I pubbed it, and I basically only used private rooms for the start of the event with Leo and at the end when the server helped me. So the, like, main part of the event was just me going through pub rooms, and I didn't even think to use PubCord's rooms because I forgot they existed.
Oh no!
So it was just me.
Oh wow! So so I imagine with like first of all with Buddy Buddy, right? Just kind of like playing all by yourself, or not necessarily by yourself. I'm sure Leo helped for sure, but playing like relatively on your own, that probably wasn't a very very fun experience. You had a lot of possible griefers or weird song choices, or maybe you're playing Romeo over and over again. But yeah. Did with that experience though, like, is there something that you learned from yourself in terms of your tiering, like that you took away that you're like, oh, like now I kind of understand myself a little bit more after this event?
Well, I not necessarily, but it did help me improve my stamina a lot because at the start of the event, my stamina was really, really weak, and I would often fall asleep earlier than I should in order to get into T10 because for half the event I was just tailing behind.
Yeah. Did you like what was that sleep schedule like when you're pubbing and you have much less efficient teams and much less efficient time? Like what was that? What was your average schedule playing when you were sniping?
I honestly just played whenever I could, and I would try to stay up as long as I could, but then I would fall asleep on accident, and it was really hard to keep up.
Did people like Leo try to wake you up as much as possible?
No, because Leo didn't know I was sleeping.
Oh no!
Leo was also sleeping.
I would if I knew.
Yeah. That's the struggle, right? Like tiering is all about playing more. You got to manage your sleep schedule. Got to manage your time wisely. But regardless, Ruby, it's just really awesome to hear that despite all the challenges, you kind of went ahead and eventually were able to get the goal that you got, right? And it's I imagine that you were very thankful and very happy and proud of that achievement for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely super proud. I can't believe I was able to do something like that. And even like midway through the event, when I finally was able to break into T10, I was just so ecstatic because that was my first time ever being in T10 before. And so it was a completely new experience, and I was just so happy that I was able to do it.
For sure. Well, big congratulations on that once more. Again, it's been a long time. Honestly, again, if you didn't remind me of that story, I'm like, oh, I would have like, it was in the back of my memory. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. So yeah, I did remember that last minute push from you. So, I'm also very proud to see that and remember that. So that was a really pretty memorable event for sure for me as well. I ended up getting, I got T12 in that title. I think I wanted T11, but because, obviously there were 11 people fighting for T10, so I didn't really want to be like, okay, well, I don't want to make it look like a 12-man bloodbath for T10. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though. I one day I'll get a T11 title, but so far I have 2 T12 titles, and hopefully I'll get a T11 title in the future. For as crazy as that sounds, and people be like, "Why would you go for T11, Phil?" Like, don't worry about it. I'm built different.
Yeah, I remember seeing you a lot because the server was like a Phil fan club.
Oh yeah, it was at one point. I'm just like, why?
And everyone was parking your birthday, so I just have your birthday memorized on accident.
No. This is so embarrassing. Wait, it's actually not so embarrassing. Oh man. But yeah, regardless, Ruby, that's it was definitely a really fun experience. So thanks again for sharing that.
Of course.
Good. Well, Leo, let's go back to you. I'm sure you have some pretty interesting first stories of tiering. So obviously you have your T4, which we'll talk about very shortly. But was there any title before that you were like, oh, this is like a title that you're really proud of? And, if you don't mind sharing a bit more about that.
Well, yeah, 2 in specific, actually. First was like my first time like tiering using meta and like rooming and not just playing free live with a weird band and hoping for the best. It was during Railgun, and Ruby was there for like 90% of it.
Yeah, I remember Railgun.
It was my first T500, and it was fun. I did not think I'd get that high, considering it was a collab and also my first time like seriously going for a rank, but it ended up well.
Oh, it's honestly kind of a bit of a whiplash when I see people in the chat saying that they haven't started the game when Railgun came out. It's like, whoa, we have some really new people here.
Railgun was like actually my first time using private rooms in meta too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because we like our like tiering journey was like practically synced. So yeah, because
Well, that's really new. That's really neat. Like when you did that, right? When you first learned about tiering and the fact that like, you had, using private rooms, using the same song and, menuing and managing your time wisely. Was that a little bit of a learning curve, or did you get the hang of it pretty quickly once you kind of got the hang of things?
I think I learned to get a hang of it like generally quickly, but not really. Because during Railgun, like, I had to go out somewhere like one of the last days, and I was terrified I was going to lose my rank. So I asked my mom if we could go home, and she did. This was like a year ago. So, oh my God, it was a year ago. Good Lord. But yeah.
Well, but based mom with the clutch and helping you with the last minute grind. That's a lot of fun. Railgun was a really like exciting event. That was definitely when the game was, also relatively like quite active for collab as well, right? So it was really, really neat to see how people got together to try and get that title and trying to get their goal. So Leo, I'm sure again you're really happy and proud of that T500, right? So it's a nice first relatively high title in your books, and then you kind of aimed for more, I imagine, right? You would kind of leading to, I imagine, the second notable tiering story you want to share.
Oh yeah, Live Beyond. It was just like, I actually, Ruby can confirm, didn't know it was a Band Story 3 until 2 days before it started. And I wanted
why
to
did you tell me it was Band Story 3?
And I didn't know. So I was planning on going for like T100 or 500 something, because like I thought, oh yeah, Band Story event, gonna be packed. And then I like played a little in the start of the event. I think it was in G2. I don't really remember. And I landed in T10, and I'm like, wait,
I still have this.
What am I doing? I told Ruby about it, and I like wouldn't shut up for like a day.
It's fine, because I was so excited. I was so happy for Leo because it was so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was my first like using tiering server experience, and it really gave me a lot of like experience on what to not do.
Yeah. What not to do, but again, regardless, you were able to really show some level of understanding and learning, because like going from like a T like 500 experience kind of jumping straight up to like almost getting T10, that's a pretty big difference in gap. But it showed that you worked very hard and you were able to grind it, and eventually you communicated with the server and be able to help everyone else get their goals, and you got a very respectable title yourself.
Yeah. For Live Beyond, actually, I was like, didn't comprehend that I couldn't get T10 at first. And I'm like, oh wait, I can't do this. And then I was T11, and I'm like, T11, I don't like the numbers next to each other. So I told the person below me in my Bandori status to vote me. I didn't like the number 11. The two ones next to each other just weren't working. So I got a T12 for that event. So
we are fellow T12 havers.
And it's like technically, so Buddy was Mission Life, and then Live Beyond was actually the Mission Life right after. So you guys are like even more matching.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely a really fun notable note there. So, but again, Leo, that's a really good achievement, getting a almost T10, and in a band story 3, that's like pretty surprising. You didn't mention that you had any particular favorite band, but those 2 events so far, it almost makes you sound like a big Popipa fan.
I do like cheering for their events. I'm just blessed with their cards.
Yeah, and also I guess was it Kokoro as well? all the cards that you have. So
I think I do have a Kokoro.
Oh wow! It sounds like you have a really large collection of cards, Leo.
Yeah, we all
not really. I just spend too much money.
Oh no! That you're not going to share, obviously.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. Let's leave the conversation at that. But again, it's really neat to hear that you were able to enjoy that experience of tiering Live Beyond, and being able to really understand the perks of being able to tier very high again, right? Like, because, again, T500, T100, they're all very interesting kind of achievements, right? But getting up to the next step, which for both of you were very big key achievements that you've gotten, is pretty, it's definitely a big step up. So before we talk about your individual biggest achievements, and we'll go in order in terms of chronological, because that, I guess that makes sense. And funny enough, your 2 events were sort of back to back, so it's pretty.
It works out. It's actually a big thing. It's so cute, and I made a little picture to represent it.
You did do that. It was very cute, because I originally wanted to go for T3, so we'd have like back-to-back T3s, but it didn't end up working out.
I see.
Yeah, but it's fine. We'll get back-to-back T3s soon. One day.
Oh, one day. Okay. Well, we'll definitely hear that near the end of the today's episode. But before I talk about your achievements, like, again, getting into tiering, learning about tiering is always really nice. But what were some of your motivations to go for not just a T, just like a T100 or a T50, that you really wanted to go for like a T10, or even in this case for both of you, you initially wanted to get a T3? Leo, I know, for you, I imagine maybe that Live Beyond experience, getting a little bit of a taste of that T10, you're like, maybe I want to get more of that experience.
Yeah, it was really.
Any other motivations in particular about, like, why specifically Shining Espoir? Like, why did you want to specifically go for T3 in that event?
Well, for Shining Espoir, I was just like, at that time, I like had a T10 plan for the future event Dear Friend song, because after Live Beyond, I was like, power people, I want to do it again. And I eventually decided, like, I was scrolling through Best Dory one day, and I was like looking through the events, and I was just like gandering at Espoir. And then I told Ruby, like, if I had the stars and stuff, like, I would want like Espoir to be my first T10. And it was all Ruby's fault, actually.
The whale fluence is real?
What's your band and stuff? And I'm like, I got a 2-star. This ain't going to work out. And then she was like, yes, it will. Do it. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I did.
I didn't want Leo to like go through an event. Leo likes like most of the characters in the event, and it's such a perfect event. And I'm just like, you just can't skip it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Sometimes, again, your friends along the way could be your best, influencers and support, and also maybe your worst nightmare in terms of your funds and your whale thoughts and all that. So it's always a lot of fun. That's the great part about the Thierry community. Y'all support each other in many ways, either good or for whaling purposes. So
yeah.
Good. Now, Ruby, again, you already had a T10 at that point, right? So, what kind of convinced you that T3 was something you wanted to achieve? Now, obviously, looking at Sunset Bandwagon, it's a Himari-based banner, and it's pretty obvious. But any other motivations? It's like, okay, it's not. I don't want to settle for just a T10. Like, I want to go for a T3.
Well, actually, during Buddy, I looked in the server that was hosting Bandwagon, and I saw the roster was open, and I was like right before I was able to get to T10, and I wanted to do it because I felt like I could do T10 at that point. And I only joined the roster for T10 at first, but then later on, a lot of people were dropping it, and it eventually led to two podium spots being open, and I absolutely adored the T3 title so much. It's just so amazing. And I asked Leo, like, do you think I should ask if I can go for it? And it's Leo's fault.
So basically, the moral of the story is that you blame each other for getting your top achievements.
Yeah.
Very, very nice indeed. but I mean, that's really cool that not only Buddy the server helped you get your T10 title, Ruby, but they also kind of led you to the path to eventually get your first podium as well. So a lot of fun, good stuff. About that. A lot of good stuff happened through that server. If it wasn't, if you didn't get recruited at last minute and you were still trying to snipe yourself through public rooms and such, who knows? You may not be in this same situation right now. So.
Yeah, oh my God, if I skipped, I wouldn't even be playing Bandori anymore. I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, you wouldn't be on this podcast right now. So big shout outs to the Buddy X Buddy, apparently the Phil fan club server or whatnot. I don't know, some strange server like that. And a shout out
to Nate for DMing me.
Yeah, true. Shout outs to Nate, the real hero, the real reason why Ruby's here today in this podcast.
Very much so.
Yeah, it was funny because Nate and I were like communicating through our Bandori statuses because Nate was also super high up for the event.
I see. That's good. Big shout outs to Nate. So in terms of, again, let's go into a bit more detail about these events. Planning for a T3, right? A T3 attempt, I imagine, is a lot more intensive and challenging compared to just preparing for like a T100 or a T500, right? So at this point, both of you have experience under their belt. You know what it's like to tier a T10 or kind of close to a T10. So was there anything that, we'll start with you, Ruby. Is there anything that you did to prepare like differently or maybe more intensely for this podium attempt? Like, is there anything in mind when it comes to your own resources or in terms of your own IRL, like in real life stuff?
Well, a main thing I did was I went through and I full comboed every single song in the game except for like there's like a few that were too hard for me to do. But other than that, I did all the hard songs, all the expert, and everything. That way I would have stars. And also, when I first joined the roster, my band was really, really bad, but there was like a set of free pulls before, and I literally got 2 Pure Glow 4 stars from the free pulls.
Oh my God! It was fated. It was fated that they helped you get your achievement.
It really was, and then I ticketed Dreamfest round.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the tickets, miracle tickets, everyone's best friend. Or favorite whale machine.
I agree.
For sure. So a lot of things kind of worked out in your end and to kind of have those preparations. And also I could see why that you were able to, you're so guerrilla in the game, Ruby, because, being able to full combo every single song in order to get the stars, right? That's the motivation to get better at the game. So
yeah, I'm super proud I was able to full combo so many songs.
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. Now, when it comes to the actual event in Sunset Bandwagon, was there anything notable about the event that you find most memorable about? Care to share a bit more about the overall experience during that event?
Well, a lot actually happened during Bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
So originally, I obviously had only planned to go for T10, and so I actually had to adjust my plan a lot not a lot, but I did have to make adjustments for T3. And also, I found out the day before that the event was going to be 8 days instead of 6.
Ah, yeah.
And I was not happy about that at all. It was so scary. It was really hard to hear that it was going to be 2 extra days. It doesn't sound like that much, but I was not prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, at the beginning of the event, my stamina still was not good. It was better than it was during Buddy Buddy for sure, but I still had terrible stamina. And so I was not doing very good at the beginning at all. Like I was in T10, but in a T3 perspective, it was not looking good. Mm-hmm. But I just kept trying to stay up as long as I could. And eventually, after a while, I fell asleep and I slept for 8 hours, which is too long. And so after that, I had Leo and Dad and everyone wake me up.
I remember that. I remember trying to wake you up with the TTS spot because I didn't want to be really loud. Didn't know the headphones on, and it didn't work. And I don't even remember what I did. I think
you see, I was in BC and I was screaming and I wasn't waking up.
Oh no. TTS bot confirmed. It is not an alarm. It does not work.
It's not loud enough.
Yeah. But despite the fact that maybe you had some obstacles and challenges with your sleep schedule, sounded like you got a lot of support in the end to kind of get you through and people to push you and support you through your goal.
Yeah, I kept playing as long as I could, but I would fall asleep mid-round. And I even had some hallucinations. I would see the notes. It would become 3D and fly in my face. Or I'd be playing and I just see something moving in the corner of my eye coming at me. It was definitely a new experience.
Oh no. Oh no. Again, it's funny because all the times, right? Everyone loves this tier high and they're like, oh, this will be really cool to achieve and such. But every time we have someone mention about their high tiering achievement, the hallucinations always appear. So everyone talks about the hallucinations and how that happens. And, it's a bit of a euphoric experience when that happens. I haven't experienced it personally because I never achieved that high, but every time I hear it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to experience
Yeah, good luck,
that.
Phil.
Oh, we'll see how it goes. But but either way, it did sound like at the end, you were able to eventually get the T3. Was it just because you were able to outcompete other people who may have tried to go for T3, or was it just, in the end, that was just kind of your spot and, it just eventually happened that you were able to get it?
Well, even though the event was in summer for me, I still had summer math classes, which I ignored for the first part of the event. And I eventually couldn't tier for a while because I had to catch up on my math classes. So I did get voted a little bit. And so last day I had to rush really hard to get back into T3, except for it was incredibly hot. It was 110 degrees Fahrenheit and 43 degrees Celsius.
Oh, no.
And so I was melting. And then also I was incredibly tired because I hadn't slept in a few days. And so I overall just felt really sick. And I felt like I was going to throw up or pass out. And then
something unrelated to like me feeling sick, I had to call emergency services to my house.
Oh.
And so an ambulance and like the police showed up. And so I couldn't hear more because of that.
Oh no.
And then after they left, my mom kept asking me to do yard work. So I still like no time to hear. And then finally everything was done. I just kept going in the room. And I was going up against someone, and I just kept playing as long as I could to the end, and eventually they fell asleep. So I was able to get T3, and I even had enough time to park.
Wow. Talk about last minute clutch, Ruby. And again, this is your second time doing that. Like, just kind of last minute, like sneak in that last spot. At this point, you're kind of like an expert at that now.
I know, but I would enjoy having a T10 where I'm not sneaking in last second.
Well, hopefully one day that will be the case, but even with all the obstacles, it just seemed like everything was against you. Like who knows? Maybe
it was so bad.
Someone called the police, be like, Ruby is playing too much A to Z, and called the police. I don't know, but regardless, even with all the things against you, you managed to get that title. So big.
And I even had a really nice celebration cupcake. It was really delicious.
Oh, that's nice. Was it himari colored?
No, unfortunately, I think it's a cupcake specifically for it. My mom just brought a cupcake home for no reason, but I got to have it.
That's
and
fair.
It was so cute, and I think Himari would like it, so it's fine.
True. She loves her sweets, so yeah. But big shout outs to you, Ruby. That's a pretty incredible story. Like honestly, like just a lot of things like almost didn't work out, but it just worked out in the end. So big props to you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Leo, will now move to you because literally right after you're probably congratulating, the heck out of Ruby, be like, wow, you did great. And then suddenly you're like, oh no, my event's coming up literally like 24 hours from now.
Yeah, I was not ready at all.
Well, I imagine when Ruby was planning for her event, you were also planning, your event as well. So anything that you did personally that you did to prepare for the event and both in terms of resources and just IRL stuff?
Okay, funny story. I was going to try to fill in Bandwagon a lot so I could get my stamina up.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't work. First night of Bandwagon, I was on vacation.
Oh.
Fun fact about where I was on vacation. There was a pickle-themed festival, and everywhere I looked, there were pickles. And I didn't have good Wi-Fi. I had to use my phone hotspot, and I did not want to mess Ruby up first night, so I just didn't. There were pickles everywhere. It was bad.
I remember that. I was so anxious to start a Bandwagon, but even though Leo was on vacation, Leo helped me.
Wow. Well, even pickles can't stop the tears, That's pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy. Anything else that you did to prepare? Did you prepare mentally, or was there anything on the side that you noticed? Maybe my sleep schedule or my efficiency schedule, maybe back in Live Beyond, there were some parts that you wanted to improve on?
I cleared my entire schedule because I thought I was gonna have to give my left kidney for this achievement. And I didn't actually. I still have my left kidney. It went better than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
My sleep schedule was generally normal, actually.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. So this is also a mission live event, so you're very used to mission lives at this point. Kind of just coincidental that a lot of the events you tier so happen to be mission live. Was there anything in particular about the event that you find that was again memorable? The overall experience.
Memorable. I think just the whole roster. Honestly, everyone was very nice. The experience was amazing. And I love all of them very dearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But for the first night, actually, I was going to play expert A to Z because I thought I had to play expert for like most EP and everyone was playing special. I'm like, maybe I don't have to do this. But at that time, it was late. It was first night. First time I'd tiered for more than like 3 hours. It was not going well. I died on almost every round I played, and I couldn't swap back to special because I was so used to expert that I immediately died on special anyways.
Oh no.
It was just not great. And then I went to sleep for 3 hours after that and got back up and did it again.
Yeah, that's the rough schedule. You're just playing A to Z over and over again. And, again, the expert difficulty is technically the best version, but obviously if you die on it, then that becomes a problem. And special is obviously a very more comfortable option. But, when you're dying on everything, then you start to feel a little, overwhelmed. Like, did that give you like a little bit of anxiety or like doubt that that this was not going to go your way? But
oh, it did. Whenever the event started, my very first round, I think I got like 13K EP. And my belief was that 16K good, go that do. And whenever my first game got me 13K, I was like, oh, maybe this isn't going to be the best. Because my band was not great. It was entirely 3 stars and a 2-star.
Oh, no.
It was a thing to behold. But it ended up working out. Like, after that round, I got like 15K usually, I think, but it ended up fine.
Well, there's a comment in the chat about the polling session. Did you try to gacha to try and improve the team, or?
I tried. I think I used like polls that I should not have used.
Oh.
I got 1 4-star out of what might have been like 100 polls, or like 70, somewhere in that range.
Oh my god, I didn't know you pulled that much.
I tried not to, but I did. Because I brought way too many stars, like, that I didn't, like, I thought I'd need them, but I didn't end up needing them. And so I just had like a bunch of leftover stars that I was going to tier with that I spent on gacha, and I got 1 4-star that actually did help me. Little Rose Harmoniaco, thank you for coming home. But other than that, no luck.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. That unlike Ruby, the gacha gods blessed her, but not you, unfortunately.
Like Leo.
Yeah.
Oh, so unfortunate. That's the struggle of Bang Dream Girls Band Party. At the end of the day, it's a gacha game. I always think in my mind gacha's a scam. But I do acknowledge that, sometimes you gotta do it. You gotta do a necessary evil to try and get optimal. And that's what I plan to do as well in the future. But that's just unfortunate. I'm definitely it's sorry to hear that, in terms of your unfortunate luck. But when it came to the event overall, how did you feel like getting that T4 title? Again, it wasn't initially your goal to get T4, but overall, was that experience memorable for you and in tiering? And did you still come out of the event with a lot of positives?
It did, really. Honestly, getting T3 was like a pipe dream I had. I did not think I was going to be able to do it. I thought it was going to be like Ruby's past experiences where I break in like the last few like minutes or like stay at the bottom. But like being able to gain as much EP, and I wanted to get T3, and we were like talking in VC about ranks, and then someone actually called dibs on it before me. And Z, the person who got T3, very kind. I'm glad it went to Z.
I love Z.
I hope Z takes amazing care of that T3. It's very pretty. But then I decided to go for T4 because 4 I thought was a number that represented Espoir well, because I don't know, it just did.
Yeah, the 4 representing the 4-star that you got in the gacha.
Yeah, the single one. I also like to add about Espoir that like my schedule was crazy, like the first night, and then the rest. I took too many breaks I did not need. Like I took like a 3-hour break to eat like 4 cracker sandwiches to the pre-event. And I was just like sitting in VC telling stories and stuff. And they were asking me like, when are you getting back in the room? Are you getting back in the room? And I'm like, yeah, give me a minute. And it's like 15 minutes later, I'm like, oh, wait, yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess that's a learning experience. I'm sure that if you're going to go for maybe another T3 in the future, spend less time on eating crackers is definitely on the to-do list.
They were good, though. I'll give them that.
Well, as long as they were good. Yeah, that's good to hear. So, any last things you like to mention about the events, either of the two events? Because again, they were back to back, so it's pretty nice to see how that went. But any last comments about your two and your amazing experiences in tiering these events?
Comments. I would definitely do Espoir like 80 times over again. I loved doing it. I loved the people I was doing it with, and it was just, I think, an amazing first T10. And I hope the rest are like that for me as well.
That's good to hear. Good. Ruby, anything else you'd like to mention? Are all good?
Well, I remember after S4, I joined VC with Leo, and I started crying immediately.
Oh.
I was so proud.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, again, all being proud of your friends. This is the great part. Again, when you have so much friends who are so supportive of you, right? Like, sometimes they even feel more emotional than you do when you get the title. Also, partially because they're watching and they see everything happen, and they could like actually react and be emotional. Whereas the tier, they might be half dead from A to Z. Maybe the emotions haven't kicked in yet, and they're just a zombie. So, but yeah, regardless. Again, congratulations, Leo, on your T4 as well. So very, very great achievement to get on the Espoir event. Yeah, good. So we'll be wrapping up today's episode very shortly. Just before we go, I want to give the opportunity to both of you to share any of your last words, any last shout outs you want to share to everyone, as well as maybe share some future events that you might plan on doing. So I guess, Leo, we could start with you. Any last words, shout outs, and also, any future events.
Say, thank you for having us on the podcast, really.
Yeah,
it's actually been a little joke of ours that we would get on one day since last March, I think. It's been a while. And whenever we actually got the invite, we were taken aback. We were crying.
You got the real gacha luck.
Yeah, it was so funny because I am a fan of RePHIL, actually. So every single time it's announced to come, I'm like, oh my god, I wonder who's going to be on. And I always DM Leo, I wonder who's going to be on RePHIL. And 10 minutes after I said that, you literally DM me asking if I wanted to watch.
Well, there you go. Sometimes the positive thoughts work out and everything all kind of influences. And again, I'm very glad to have both of you on the podcast. It was actually relatively highly requested that both of you wanted to show up on here. So I'm glad that the two of you had a lot of fun today. You're two very popular.
I would just like to mention shout out to Prismatic Hearing and shout
they paid us for this ad.
Yeah. And then shout out to Stan and Mal and Winnie and Nate and Davey and everyone who came.
Yeah, and everyone who couldn't come as well due to complications. If you're watching this, just thank you. Just anybody who's watching this, honestly.
Yeah, thank you.
For sure. And great shout outs. And again, thank you to all those live viewers as well. We have a lot of live viewers today. So great shout outs to you all here. Are we going to see either Leo or Ruby on the T10 or even T3 leaderboards in the future?
I believe so, yeah.
Right. I have no intention on stopping tiering.
That's
me
good.
neither.
That's good. Again, it's so inspiring that you almost came from almost quitting the game entirely to all right, well, I'm back in it. So it's really nice.
I know it's all Leo's fault too. I can't believe it.
It's Ruby's fault for me too.
Well, as long as you have, that's what friends are for, to always stick to each other. And, obviously if things go wrong, you could be like, yeah, it's obviously your fault.
Yeah,
exactly.
Any particular events that you are looking into in the future, or is that stuff that you want to keep to yourself for the time being?
Particular events, I definitely plan to go for Dear Friend Song. It was like the first event, like I really planned on T10ing before the whole Espoir thing occurred. So I have a lot of passion for that event and I really want to go for it. There's a good few I'm still contemplating, but I'm unsure on others so far.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and one day we will get a T10 together.
One day.
Yeah, for sure. That like a T10 together, or back to back, right? That's also maybe in the works as well.
Yeah, and then also for me personally, this is a huge shocker, I know, but I'm also planning on tearing Spotlight Assertion.
Wow, I can't believe it.
I wonder why.
Wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. Is it going to be a T10?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm going to go as high as I can for Spotlight.
All right. Well, best of luck. I'm the biggest Himari fan out there, so I do look forward to seeing you on the leaderboards there. So that'll be a lot of fun for sure. Good. And hopefully maybe in the future, and this might be a shout out to you, Leo, maybe if there's an event that features pickles or crackers, then you'll definitely tier that event. So I think that'll be made for you.
It'll
a pickle event.
At least I know.
We'll see if again, people say I work for Bushiroad. Maybe I could get that influence going.
I would be honored.
I think now that Phil said it, if there's a pickle event, you have to tier.
And you have to tier with me. It's your fault.
Is that's the dream T10 together, right? The pickle event?
I guess.
Oh boy.
All the trained cards are just them in pickle suits performing.
Yep. Various different colors of pickles.
That'd be such a stupid event. I'm here.
I don't know what I could say about that. Hima pink pickle, no, that's so cursed. I hate it.
If you're planning on going for the pickle event, you better be scared.
Yeah.
We will tier ruthlessly for those pickles.
You stand no chance.
Well, there we go. You heard it from our guest today. Future pickle T1, T2 havers. We'll have them right here. So, yeah. But I think on a side note, this will conclude today's episode of the RePHIL Studio podcast. So once again, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. As always, be sure to check us out on your favorite podcast platforms like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And of course, don't forget to join the Young Academy Discord server if you want to interact with all of our special guests and also be a part of these live recordings when they happen. Until then, the set has been complete. Get your cans ready. We'll refill to 99 on the next set. But until then, we'll see you all next time. So take care, everyone, and bye-bye.
See ya.